Welcome to the Economy Magazine. I'm Binyamin, Tjong-Alvares with a report from the global economy. Will Spain be the next to fall to anti-austerity ecstasy? And Germany gets its minimum wage. First, today's headlines. Crude oil futures fell about 3% in Asian trade on Monday, following strikes at the U.S. refineries and sluggish manufacturing data from China. Light sweet crude futures from March traded at $46.95 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange, and Brent crude from March delivery fell to $51.60. NYMEX crude lost 9.4% last month, and Brent, the global benchmark, lost 7.6%. Workers at U.S. refineries that produce nearly 10% of the nation's fuels went on strike on Sunday after contract negotiations broke down. Oil markets worried that any reduction in refining capacity could cut consumption and allow supplies to build even more. China's manufacturing sector slipped into contraction in January, indicating continued sluggishness in the world's second largest economy. The Chinese government's official purchasing managers index dipped to 49.8 for January, the first reading below 50 since 2012. HSBC's PMI inched up to 49.7 from 49.6, but remained below the 50 level, which separates contraction from expansion. Beijing may consider more aggressive monetary and fiscal easing measures to prevent another slowdown in 2015. But for now, the continuing economic recovery in the U.S., China's biggest export market, provides hope as it may boost its factories. Egypt's tourism ministry said income from tourism is on the increase after years of political turmoil kept visitors away. Income from tourism, the main source of foreign currency for the Arab world's most populous country, rose by 27%, or $7.5 billion. 9.9 million tourists traveled to Egypt in 2014, up from 9.5 million in 2013, but still a far cry from 2010, when 14.7 million tourists visited. Though tourists, especially from Arab countries, have slowly reappeared since the Muslim Brotherhood's demise, the rapid advance of Islamic State continues to pose a threat to the sector.
There's a clear progress in the outcome that comes from tourism in 2014 compared to the year 2013. And that's because the average spending has increased. The number of nights tourists stay for also increased after this had declined in 2013. All of this led to the final tourism outcome increasing in 2014 from just below $6 billion to $7.5 billion, which is more than a 20% increase in our tourism income during 2014.
The worst drought Brazil has seen in 80 years is killing large numbers of livestock and crops in Rio de Janeiro state. As the main river connecting Minas Gerais and Rio de Janeiro dropped 1.2 meters to its lowest level in 60 years, farmers have suffered huge losses. The governor of Rio de Janeiro said last week announced an $8.57 million fund as part of an emergency program to control the water crisis. The program will aid 13,000 small producers who have been affected by the drought and expand water preservation projects.
This is the first time it has been quiet like this. We have had throughout the region before, but nothing like this. This is the first drought we have had here, which has been really very difficult. We don't have water for the plants we produce. It is very difficult, but I have faith in God that it is going to get better.
The victory of Greece's radical leftist Syriza party has given new hope to Europe's austerity-weary masses. Spain's Podemos may be the next left-wing party to rise to power, but as Spaniards buy into the euphoria, few wonder who will pay for the bills. Here's the story by i24 News journalist Daniel Roth.
With the anti-austerity Syriza party taking last week's snap elections in Greece, European leftists are feeling a jump in confidence. In Madrid, tens of thousands of people took to the streets over the weekend in support of Spain's Podemos party, which has taken up the anti-austerity mantle. The march was joined by like-minded party reps from Portugal, Belgium, Greece, and France.
Today we have the dream of a better country, but we haven't filled this square to keep dreaming. We are here to make our dream come true in 2015. Dreams have to be pushed, and this year we are going to fight to make the political change arrive.
Spain is on the tail end of a 7-year economic decline. Consumer spending is up slightly. The third quarter of last year saw 0.6% growth, low but the highest since 2007. And the number of unemployed dropped by 250,000 people last year, according to the Spanish Labor Ministry. Despite these gains, nearly 1 in 4 Spaniards is out of work, one of the highest rates in the industrialized world, according to an AFP report. This means the Podemos party's platform is gaining strength. Just 1 year old, it already took 5 seats in the European Parliament last May, and opinion polls have them on top in Spanish elections coming this year.
We must join Greece and the rest of Southern Europe, those who are fighting the Troika and Merkel, because capitalism is over and we can't go on like this.
Still, throughout Europe, some suggest that within the current economic system, leftist parties from Spain to Greece will have to temper themselves as they gain power.
The interesting thing in this, I think, impacts Podemos as well, the more Syriza compromises with the creditors, the more it loses the more radical left. But the more it is likely maybe to win the space left by the social democracy.
Indeed, questions abound as to how Podemos and others will move forward, as only in recent months, anti-austerity parties are starting to make major political gains in Europe.
Joining us now on the phone for a perspective on the prospects for anti-austerity in Spain is Enrique Zimmerman, correspondent for Spanish television station Tele5 and newspaper La Vanguardia. Mr. Zimmerman, thanks for joining us.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So, how infectious is Syriza's political triumph in Greece likely to be among the pigs? Will we see a spread of mutiny, and how will the Eurozone deal with it if it does?
Well, the truth is this phenomenon, Podemos, which is really making Spain trembling, I would say, started some months ago, and the big surprise one was the moment they got a huge success in the European elections. So when they got 8% and they just were created by a group of teachers from the university in their 30s of political science led by Pablo Iglesias, it was quite a shock because it reminded to Spaniards that there are some huge phenomena that the main parties didn't solve, like the fight against corruption. There are many corruption affairs in Spain recently. And also the problem of disemployment, which is for youngsters, it reaches incredible figures like 50%. That means that many youngsters will reach their 40s and their 50s without never in their life being able to work. So it's a kind of, I would say, an earthquake in Spain. And Podemos is trying to bring solutions to these huge problems and also to the feeling that Spain became a kind of a colony, as they say, led by Germans and led by Angela Merkel.
Mr. Zimmerman, as you yourself said, there are still major issues in Spain, even though Spain was the first of the pigs to crawl out of recession in the third quarter of 2013. I mean, does anyone credit the anti-austerity measures for that, or are people really more involved with the fact that their life currently still isn't what it should be?
Well, that's the point. I think that Spaniards in general, and mainly youngsters, they feel that things done recently, even if the economic situation is slightly better, it's not enough. And they feel that corruption is going on, and they feel that the two main parties, which are the socialists, which are more social democratic, I would say, and the conservative party, the PP, the Popular Party, which is in power for some years already, they didn't find solutions to these problems, even as we know that today, recently, the disemployment really was reduced in 250,000 people. But even like this, the problems are there. But there is a kind of panic, I would say, in the main parties in Spain, and also, I believe, the king, the new king, Felipe VI, the son of Juan Carlos, is also trying to see what can they do to avoid a kind of revolution with Podemos, because there are 2 elections this year in Spain, And in the middle of that, they are trying to find solutions to the definition of Spain as a state, with demands of independence from Catalonia and from the Basque country. So they have plenty of problems, and Podemos comes with very simple solutions, and very drastic solutions.
Mr. Enrique Zimmerman, thanks so very much for joining us and giving us perspective on Spain and what to expect there. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Germany's national minimum wage of 8.5 euros should mean an initial boost in income for almost 4 million people. But it will take until 2017 before the measure is extended across the entire economy.
€8.50 an hour. After a long national debate, since the start of this year, Germans have at last been entitled to a minimum wage. At this Berlin restaurant, contracts had to be redrawn for the 13 staff members who work during the winter months. Kathy Balkman has been working here part-time since October. She was already earning $8.50 before the law changed, but says the reform is a major step forward.
When you have no choice over your job, it's great, as there is a level of security. It means you no longer have to negotiate all the time.
Thanks to several months' advance warning to comply with the new law, the restaurant owner was able to adapt to the new changes over time. As well as dealing with red tape, she put up prices in order to offset the increased wage bill.
It was fairly easy to plan for what was going to happen. Thanks to our financial advisor, the consequences of the rise in salary costs were clear. It needed an increase in turnover at the restaurant of 20 to 30%.
For economists looking at the wider picture, the impact is not quite so easy to judge. The German Chamber of Commerce, for example, says it could lead to the loss of 200,000 jobs across the economy. Another possible downside could be a general rise in prices.
It mainly affects small businesses who don't make large profits, so they have to offset the costs linked to the minimum wage by increasing their prices. It remains to be seen if this increase will have any effect on the labour market, because it concerns everyone. Will people take taxis or go to the hairdressers as much as they used to?
That's a question of critical importance to salons like this one. For hairdressers, a separate agreement allowed the increase to come in gradually, $6.50 in 2013, $7.50 in 2014 and $8.50 from this summer onwards.
Für die gesamte Friseurbranche ist es auf jeden Fall von Vorteil.
For the hairdressing sector in general, it's a definite plus, because sometimes, like here in East Germany, there were workers earning around €4 an hour, and so the staff had to find other sources of income just to survive.
According to the German Labour Ministry, the minimum salary will affect 3.7 million people in Germany this year, out of a total working population of 42 million. The plan is to give those people a much-needed boost without dampening the country's strong economic performance.
And we continue the Super Bowl euphoria in Media Watch with Daniel Roth. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
How's it going?
Good. So the Super Bowl, huh?
The Super Bowl. The big thing, of course, of the Super Bowl is commercials, advertisement.
Right.
This year, we're looking at somewhere in America alone over 100 million people. Ads cost $4.5 million per half minute. So every 30-second ad was $4.5 million. But the big story is actually that advertisers, companies are starting to realize they don't need to pay that kind of money. There's two other routes that they're taking now. One is local affiliates, so not paying the national broadcaster, but paying local affiliates to pinpoint where they're going to advertise.
Right.
But more importantly, people are able to publish stuff on YouTube now, maybe you've heard of it, for free. So people aren't even waiting for the Super Bowl to publish their ads. The Super Bowl essentially has become a season. It's sort of like summer blockbusters in Hollywood. It's a season for advertisers to kind of put out their biggest, strongest work. And people are looking for it around now. In fact, people are conditioned to skip ads, to fast forward ads, or leave the room during ads. Throughout the rest of the year, this is the point in the year when people go and look for them.
They actually go and sit and watch the ads because this is when they actually air for the first time.
Right. So I mean, but the interesting thing is we're witnessing now, I think, the beginning of a shift of the market value of ads on the Super Bowl because the season is more important than the actual event.
But this year's ads were also a little weird. They were sad, weren't they?
Yeah, so there was sad. It's kind of as if the world needed a hug from these ads. There's Nissan ads. They spent $15 million, a little less, on a 1.5-minute ad about a father and son. We had McDonald's had this ad where they were giving out free hugs. This is a promotion for McDonald's. It's a very odd theme.
Okay, well, Dan and Roth, I'll give you a hug after the show. But on that note, we do have to end here. Thanks very much for watching The Economy Magazine, your daily source for economic and financial reports at I-24 News. I'm Binyamin Tjong-Alvares. Thanks for watching again, and do join us again tomorrow.